Well, hello guys, this is Love to Fly Helis. We're back in a building mood. It's July 17th. I've got the house all to myself today. Mr. Bill's not going to be here. We're going to break out a Great Plains Big Stick 40 and try to get it built today while I'm here by myself and don't have any distractions. We flew all day yesterday from about 9:30 till 8 o'clock last night. We have like 70 videos we shot, so sometime in the next few days we'll try to get a bunch of our flying videos loaded up. Anyway, we'll go on to starting the unboxing of this thing. Okay, this is the Great Plains Big Stick 40. They have a 40, they have a 60, and then they have a giant big stick. Mr. Bill has all three of them. I used to, I wouldn't, never even consider this plane. I thought it was the ugliest thing ever made until Bill got his and made me fly it, and I fell in love with it. They are a blast to fly. We got this one. We get a lot of our 40 size planes from Tower Hobby, and if you go to their site, you go over to the left column and scroll down to where the scratch and dent department is. If you watch that daily, we got this plane. It's I want to say $139 or $149 for the kit, ARF kit. We got this for like $70, and the only thing wrong with it is one of the wings. Can't remember what it was. There's very little damage. Oh, this little tab right here where the wing joins together, and that little tab is double thickness and glue goes into the fuselage. This one is broken off. That's an easy fix to save that much money on this plane. And that's the only damage there is, except for right here. This piece here is cracked. That's an easy fix. We'll go in and fix that. We'll patch that covering. And so, you know, we saved a lot of money on this, and we've got a lot of our planes from scratch and dent. And it's, you know, if you know how to repair a little bit of stuff, it's worth the money to save it. So we got our wings there. This is all your hardware, everything in this box. We can get it open here. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Looks like it's all there. There is the wheels, the landing gear, your nose cone, which I don't use the plastic nose cones. I always order aluminum. I like them better. Nose landing gear, and the parts to put your wing and stuff together, and all the bolts are here. Motor mount, it's all here. So we'll lay this aside, and I've actually got the manual. It didn't have a manual with it, but I already have one from Bill's plane. We'll get it out, and just take the rest of this out of here and double check it. The fuselage is all intact. There's no damage whatsoever, so there's very little damage. That little tab and the end of the wing is all that was wrong with this thing. And we've gotten several planes like that. Matter of fact, little Austin that's been flying with me, you've been watching, he got one. We got him from scratch and dent. Bill got it for him. It was a Yak 54 Phoenix aircraft, and I had that plane for 3.5 years and loved it. Anyway, he got one. It's a $149.99 kit. He got it for $65. It had a little bit of a small crack in the side of the fuselage right here, which we'll have fixed in 30 minutes and recovered. So he saved him a bundle of money. Alright, everything's there. Here's all your push rods. So we're not missing any parts at all. Usually they will tell you in the scratch and dent that, you know, it'll say fuselage damage or slightly damaged wing, and I think that's what this one said, slightly damaged wing. And they're pretty good for the most part about telling you what's wrong with it, so you can sure save yourself some money. Alright, we are going to put most of this back in here for now. My bolts and plastic hardware and stuff, of course, like you know, you've seen me do, I like to put it in little butter bowls and keep it all organized over there where I can get to it when I need it. I don't need the motor mount for a little while, the landing gear, and the wheels. We'll start on the wings, so we're going to need this little package here. Okay, let's get started on this thing. Okay, we're going to get our bags opened up. This is all the plastic hardware, clevises, control horns, and stuff like that. And if I have the right size, I'm getting low, but if I have the right size, I'm going to change my clevises to metal, and I think I still have some, but they're not, the plastic's okay on a 40 size, but they will stress fracture after a while. They just get weak. It's just a little bitty plastic pin through there, and so I just don't trust them. I've never had one come in, break or come undone, but I feel a lot more comfortable with the metal. It's not worth losing a plane over a few cents when you can change them out. So anyway, we got our plastic gear in one bowl. All of the metal bolts, hardware in that bowl. And we're kind of new at this building thing, so I'm gonna try to do a little more detail on some of the building on this, and like gluing the wing together and things. We miss a lot of important steps, and we're hoping to get enough that's on here to help. You guys that have been building for years, this is nothing new to you, but a lot of you guys are starting into this hobby, and it was like me. When the first plane I got, I opened up the manual, it was like reading the manual to the space shuttle. They write these things like you already know what you're doing. So we're going to try to, and that's our whole intention, is just trying to get this on here to where you can see how to do this stuff if you don't know. And hopefully we can help you out a little bit. We got one more bag here we get open. It was already opened. I don't see anything missing, but that's a little tail wire they give you, put on the back of it, and this is a little tail fan that goes on the bottom. We usually put a little bitty wheel on ours. Kind of works like a wheelie caster. This is a tricycle gear plane. You can convert it to tail dragger, which I was thinking about doing, but I don't know. I think I'll go ahead and do the track for now. But this little fin goes on the back, and then the wire thing goes inside of it here. I can't remember exactly how, but it's made so if you do tip your tail down, this will drag on the ground and not hurt your elevator and rudder and stuff. But we usually put a little tiny tail wheel on this, so it's kind of like a little wheelie bar, so if it hits the ground, it rides on that little wheel. But just a thing we do. This is your joiners for your wing, and I don't know if you can see it on here, but there's a slight dihedral in this. So one way you can tell, if you put them together like that, they don't go. So you want to be sure and get your dihedral to the top. But these will be glued together with epoxy, and then we'll sand the edges, and then that goes in the joiner tube in the wing, and you epoxy all this together, and that's what makes a one-piece wing solid. Now we will have to replace this little broken off chip up here, but what I'll do, like my good friend Ken taught me, he's been teaching me how to repair and build these things. We will make a dummy, or a dupe off of this one. We'll duplicate this, and we'll go into that other wing and cut back and glue it in, and that way we'll have a double spar when we put it back together. So anyway, we're going to get started here. Another thing they do, a lot of the CA hinges come already perforated where you can tear them. Some of them come already torn apart. These particular ones, a lot of them, the kits, they come in one sheet. So what you have to do is measure those, and I believe it's 1 inch. So we'll do both ends of that. And then, I'll need a bigger ruler. Hang on a minute. And get yourself some good rulers, several different sizes. This one's just a little plastic one's got inches and millimeters. This one has inches and millimeters, a wooden ruler, but it has a metal edge on it. That metal edge is really nice. You can use a hobby knife against that, and it won't damage your ruler. If you're using just plastic or wood, sometimes you can nick into that. So get you a couple of good rulers. I have this one. I have one that's even longer. And then another thing you're going to need is a good metal 3-foot yardstick. That's almost invaluable. We use it on every plane. Another ruler I like to have is my wife gave me a sewing ruler. It's flexible, so you can stretch it out and bend it around, and that has really been nice to have too. We use it a lot, especially measuring the wing tips to the stab and everything, and getting all that. Now we've got that marked long ways, 1 inch wide, and then you mark them, I believe it's 3/4. Yeah, 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 3/4 that way. So now we will do this side. Turn it around and mark it over here. So 1, 2, 3/4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we'll take this and mark across. This is probably going to be several different sections of this video I'll have to load. I imagine 6 or 8 10 to 12 minute vids, because I'm going to try to do a lot of detail on this thing for you new guys. You know, I mean, it tells you in the book how to do this right here. This is nothing, but there's a lot of little tricks that they just act like you should already know. So hopefully we can help you out a little bit on this. We'll try. Alright, now we have our little grid all marked out. Now we are going to take a pair of scissors. We're going to cut them across our lines. And I'm doing this now before we even get started, because I'm going to need them here shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all cut out and ready to go, and put them in a little bowl, and that way all I got to do is drag them out and stick them in there and glue them in when I get ready for them. So this is usually the first thing I do when I unbox one. But like I said, a lot of times they come already separated and dog-eared on the corners. But then every now and then you get one that's like this, just a sheet. You have to cut your own. You can also buy these by the package. We get most of ours from Tower, this little stuff like this. I keep a lot of them on hand. There has been times I've had to go in and cut a surface off and rehinge it, so you need extras. Matter of fact, my J3 Cub, when I had to rebuild the stab on it the other day, the wire that connects the two halves together was bent. So I had to, I broke one side of the stab off in a light crash. So I had to cut these hinges. You can go in between your control surfaces and cut these off and get your control surface off, and then you take your hobby knife and you go back in there and reopen the groove so you can put new ones in. But I had to take that off, get that wire out of there to straighten it out. Now we've got them all cut in little squares. The next thing you want to do is just dog ear them. Just cut the little corners off just a little bit, just like that. And the reason for that is when you get ready to slide it into your control surface in the slot, it will go in a lot easier. If you try to put it in with just those square corners, a lot of times they will hang and bind up on you. So we'll go ahead and do the rest of these, and then we'll move on. Okay, now we've got them all dog-eared on each end, and that's the long end, so that's the end that's going to go into your wing and your control surface. So now what you want to do is you don't have to measure this. You can easily eyeball the center. Just draw you a line across the middle of it like that. That way when you go to put it into your control surface and your wing, you don't get it in deeper on one side or the other. You want that line to show in the middle, so you want an equal amount of this hinge in each half. If you get just a tiny bit in one half and the rest of it slides up in there and you don't know it, then that can come loose real easy. So you want to be sure those are equal. So just mark them all, and that way you'll be ready when you go to put them in. Alright. Okay, we've got our covering ripped off. What I'm going to do on this, I just took the whole covering off of this whole end right here, and I'm going to recover this tip in black. I don't have any red that'll match. What I have is more of an orange red, so I'm going to just cover this tip in black, which will go along with the other color scheme. But you can see what we have here. That's been bent and broken, but that's an easy fix. We will go in and hold this straight, level, and CA at first. Then I'm going to cut some thin balsa, and what we're going to do here is we're going to put a brace. This doesn't weigh nothing. You want to keep your weight down. You got to reinforce it, but you got to keep your weight down as much as you can. So we're going to cut this piece of balsa. I've already marked it to fit one piece on each side to reinforce that. Now here's where your ruler with the metal edge comes in handy. I've got this marked where I want to cut along the edge, but I don't want it coming all the way to the edge, because what that'll do, if it comes to the edge, when I go to cover this, it's going to be real thick right here, and the covering won't lay down right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scoot this back about 1/8 of an inch, or about a quarter of an inch away from the edge, which will still reinforce the fracture, but it's gonna allow my covering to sheet over that and go along this edge here without bulking it up. So we're going to just scoot our ruler back about a quarter of an inch from the edge, and we're going to take our razor knife right against that metal ruler, and you can slice right through that little booger. Invaluable little tool. I got this at Great Plains. Easy touch sander bar. You can get them in different lengths. I like the little short one. Good solid. You can also make your own out of little blocks of wood and stuff, but I like this one. Just kind of clean up the edges of anything that you're going to glue. Make sure they're soft or clean and of debris, and you can also square them up. Right now we've got our little piece here, and what we'll do is we'll just duplicate this. Now see, I can lay that in there after I glue the other part. We will put one of these on each side, and I'm going to use epoxy when I do this part, and reinforce this thing, and there we have it. It'll be back in good solid shape by the time we put a piece on each side, and it'll be pretty strong, and then by the time you put your covering on it, it'll really strengthen it. Now, one thing that I know, the way this should be done, we should be able to put our black onto here and then overlap the red onto it. I don't have any more red, so my black seam is actually going to be on top, but as long as if you clean this really good with denatured alcohol and then don't touch it, it'll seal down good. I've done it several times. I've never had a seam come loose. Normally you want your seam over the top and down instead of on top like this, but anyway, we don't have any choice on this one. So I'll get another piece cut. We'll get this thing glued together and clamped, and then move on. Okay, we've got our glue set. I'll take our clamps off now, and you can see where I put a piece of sheeting on each side of the wing, but that thing is solid as a rock now. I'd have to really torque on that to break it. It's solid. There's not hardly any more weight to it. Now we'll recover this in, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and cut the covering off the other end of the other wing, even though it's not damaged, and cover it in the black so it'll match. We did one of Bill's, you've probably seen it in some of our videos, his Big Stick 60. We did one end of it in silver, and he decided to leave it that way. He wanted that one silver tip. It helps him kind of tell which wing's which, way out there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do both of mine. We'll move on to that here in a minute and get her covered up, and then all we have to do is fix the tab on the other piece, and we're ready to put the wing together after that. Okay, I did find one more damaged place on this wing, so I can get it around here. There is a pretty good sunk in place right here. You can kind of see where my finger is. It's dumped in pretty good. The inner structure seems to be pretty solid. The sheeting over here is okay. This spar may have a little crack in it, but it's fairly solid. So I'm going to try to pull this out rather than rip that apart and have to recover in all the different colors. I'm going to try to pull that out with my heat gun. If you're going to fly RC, you're going to have to learn to repair your planes, because you are going to damage them, you're going to crash them. I didn't know anything about repairing this stuff, and I went a couple weeks ago and went up to my good friend Ken and he helped me rebuild my little ultimate biplane, and I learned a lot. He showed me how to go into these damaged areas and fix them. I still don't have any desire to build a whole kit, but I do want to know how to repair them so I don't have to bug him all the time. But anyway, you got to be real careful with these heat guns. A lot of this stuff is different temperature. This is monocoat that's on this plane. It's a fairly high temp, but you have low temp covering, and you put a hot heat gun on there and it'll just melt it or expand it till it pops. Very gentle. You don't want to get it too hot, but hopefully you can see this. Just the right amount of heat will just draw that little collapsed area right back out. You know, getting all of it but one little deal here. There we go. It's coming. Well, that's pretty good, man. One more time here. If I overdo this, it'll melt that, or it'll stretch it so tight it'll pop. So you don't want to do that. And I've got it all out but one little divot there. I'm going to let it cool down a minute, and I'm going to hit it one more time and see if it'll pull the rest of that out. But that was a very easy fix right there. And that's awesome. So I got a $150 plane here for 70 bucks. And just a little bit of extra repair work and we're good. Alright, it's not going to pull that last little bitty dip out, but you know, that's not anything to worry about. Just looks kind of like a little sunken in a little bitty blister. You can't even hardly see it on the camera now. So I'm not going to worry about that. This plane will fly fine with that little divot right there. Okay, got that done. I'll get on to the covering here in just a minute.